Andrew's ready. Big's ready.
Okay.
You're on.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to our 11th virtual town hall meeting for Brookline businesses and nonprofit organizations impacted by COVID-19. My name is Raul Fernandez. I'm a select board member and chair of the Small Business Development Committee, who alongside our friends at Economic Development in Brookline host these town halls, which is graciously streamed and supported by the Brookline Interactive Group every week. Thank you. We'll continue to be here every Thursday morning at 9 a.m. to deliver important updates and to answer your questions in real time. Last week's virtual town hall meeting was action-packed with guest speakers and updates following the release of the state's reopening plan on May 18th. Over the past week and a half, there's been a lot of new information to process, so we've dedicated the majority of today's agenda for discussion and Q&A. We're fortunate, again, to have Pat Maloney, Director of Environmental Health, with us to help answer any questions. For now, I'll turn it over to Economic Development to provide a few updates, but then we'd really like to hear your questions and comments directly from you. All right, Kara, I'll turn it over to you.
Great, thank you. So good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us again. We wanted to thank everybody who participated in last week's Zoom poll, sorry. We relayed the feedback that we got about the Open Streets Initiative, and that was really helpful for our Transportation Division as well as our Select Board. If you weren't able to contribute to that poll and have other comments, if you could please email Meredith Mooney or myself, and we'll put our emails in the chat box as we usually do. And these are, again, about the expanded sidewalks that come off the curb, as well as the delivery-only parking signs. We're anticipating, a lot of reliance on curbside pickup as more businesses start to open. So we know that that curbside area is going to be very fluid in the coming weeks to support our businesses. We wanted this morning to do a very quick 2-question poll. And I think Raul is going to launch that, or maybe Meredith. And one question is a follow-up from the presentation we had from Brookline Police last week about de-escalation techniques. So the first question is, would you and your employees be interested in a de-escalation technique training with Brookline Police? This would be a longer version from what we had last week, probably an hour long. And we're thinking that session might be not recorded so that you all can ask questions privately with police, go through specific scenarios that you're working through. And secondly, we want to know whether your business reopened and whether you've expanded your operations this week, for example, beginning curbside pickup. So those are our 2 questions. Let's see what happens. We'll give people a couple minutes. Oh, maybe we can unmute Elias. It sounds like he's trying to say something.
Elias, you should be able to unmute yourself, Elias, just in the bottom left corner of your screen where you see the icons there. You might be on your phone. One of the things while we're doing this and getting Elias on, one of the things that I was reminded of last week is for folks that are watching the live stream, they're not able to see what we put in the chat. So to the extent that there are things that we want to share, I think there was something last week that I just said, it's in the chat. And folks were like, yeah, but what is it? So if we've got emails and things like that, if we can read them out loud to folks that might be watching either at home or on the live stream, that would be helpful.
So I just popped into the chat. If you have additional feedback about the open streets configuration or the delivery signs, you can email me, mmooney, M-O-O-N-E-Y, at brooklinema.gov, or Kara, K-Bruton, at brooklinema.gov.
So how are the poll results coming? Are we good?
We've got a fair number of responses. We're seeing here is for the that first question was about would be interested in a de-escalation technique training with Brookline Police. 9 of 12 respondees said yes. And then the second question was, did your business reopen or expand its operations this week? And then 7 of the 12 respondees said yes.
Great. So it's helpful. And we're later today, hopefully we'll have time. We're going to be asking everybody that's on this call just about your experience of what it's been like this last week. some more open-ended discussions. So you can start kind of thinking about sharing with us what your experience was this week, starting to open back up. So real quick about the only announcement that I have this morning is about outdoor seating. We are starting to speak with some businesses about some ideas. I'm really excited. We've talked to about 5 different businesses already with very specific ideas of where they would like to have outdoor seating for customers, either restaurants or retailers, combination of public, private spaces, streets, parking lots, alleyways. And also a lot of those conversations are about spaces that could be used by multiple businesses throughout the day. I think I talked about this a little bit last week. So our transportation division and Meredith and I are working with members of our business community on specific proposals for future customer outdoor spaces. And you can email me, kbruton@brooklinema.gov with any specific location ideas, and we will follow up with you by phone to further develop and brainstorm potential configurations. We've been in close contact with other departments, so we're kind of streamlining all of this. And so far, the participation with everybody across town has been very positive, thinking creatively, streamlining, or talking about ways that we could even potentially temporarily remove some of the usual permitting hurdles that we have. We're also, this is an exploratory phase for us to gather a sample of different proposed configurations so that we can work with other departments as well as business organizations to make a kind of set of recommendations to our select board. We're also waiting, hopefully in the next couple of days or a week, for more guidance from the state. There's conversations about, for those of you that sell alcohol, loosening of restrictions, at least temporarily, that usually businesses have to go through beyond the local process. So it's all looking hopeful. We don't have specifics to announce yet, but we are right now working through physical configurations. So far just in Brookline Village and Coolidge Corner, and we'll bring all of these specific ideas back to this group and the business organizations before we make recommendations to the select board. You've seen stories across the nation about local communities working hard to be nimble, flexible, and clear about guidance and streamlined processes to help our businesses reopen while keeping members of the public and your employees safe. So thank you for your help in identifying these potential locations. And we know that we're all trying to make it work for everybody. So that's the only announcement I have this morning. And I think, let's see. The business impact poll is that, I think Meredith will put a link into that as well. We have very few responses still for our business impact poll. That's the way that we can communicate to the select board, that we can communicate to our state partners about how you guys are doing, what your the impact has been, what hurdles you have as you're starting to reopen. So if you can please take a minute to fill that out if you haven't already, that would be helpful for us. We'll continue to update you with the Brookline Business Newsflash email list that's continuing to grow, which is wonderful. And then finally, we know that the Shop Brookline storefront signage has been going, and there's a couple dozen signs, I think, out in our commercial areas, and we have plenty more signs. So Meredith will put a link to the storefront signage program as well. I think the next thing we're going to do is turn it over to Caitlin Starr.
Just briefly, I noticed now that that Elias has become unmuted. This is Elias Audi, Small Business Development Committee member and small business owner whose phenomenal business acumen is inversely proportional to his ability to use Zoom. So Elias, you're on now. Were you trying to say something earlier?
Well, good morning, everyone. It's always good to see those smiling faces. It's great. And yes, my audio was frozen somehow. I managed
Got you now,
which is good. No, what I was going to say that you know, my business started to pick up. I already start to increase hours of operation on the service department. So things are shaping up and coming back. Yeah, that is true. As far as the police program, I think it's a great idea and I would like to participate, yes. And also, I would like to take a minute at time, if you don't mind, for a short announcement. It's a heads up on Rotary business. We are discussing right now a Father's Day pancake breakfast, and that would be by the high school. It's a drive-by by the high school to pick up your package. Kathy, you would be contacted. You're going to be a big part of that. And stay tuned for when we finalize the details. It's going to go in front of the Board of Selectmen. So select board, sorry. So Raul, you'll hear about it. And also Pat Maloney, I saw here a few minutes ago. And it's not in front of me, but we're seeking approvals right now. Right. It's going to be beautiful, and it will be a jump start for Brookline nonprofits and back to normal business.
Right. Yeah, it's a great event every year. I'm glad you all are finding a way to keep that tradition alive. So thank you.
Thank you. Yep.
Caitlin, sorry to interrupt. Take it away.
Hi, everybody. So I just really briefly wanted to mention the ADA requirements related to inability to wear a mask or face covering due to a medical condition. There's been more questions coming in. The town's Emergency Operations Center recently received a question: what if someone says they have a medical condition in a barber shop and cannot wear a mask? Can you tell them to leave because of the danger you feel and to other customers and employees? And this is really similar to a lot of the questions we've been seeing in these conversations and elsewhere. And the answer would apply to all businesses. So we just felt that it was important to repeat and underscore the answer to this question and how the mask requirements intersect with the American Disabilities Act. The American Disabilities Act and Equal Employment Opportunity Commission address this issue. Since COVID-19 meets the definition of a direct threat to other individuals, you would probably be on solid ground to make someone wear a mask or tell them to leave if they do not have a medical condition. But you do not have the right to refuse customer service if they have a medical condition and cannot wear a mask. First, we would recommend that you discuss with the customer other ways to offer services safely for everyone, if at all possible, such as bringing items or services outside. You can legally ask one question, which is, are you unable to wear a mask due to a medical condition? But other than that, you cannot ask anything more. Are there any questions about that?
And if you do have any, you can use that Q&A function toward the bottom of your screen there to ask any of those questions.
And I know we've discussed it, but like I mentioned, we felt it was important to just bring it up again as more businesses are starting to open up a little bit more, and there's going to be more activity.
Thank you, Caitlin, for putting out that text on a flyer as well, and we'll make sure to post it on our website too, so that people can refer to it. Sometimes we hear things and then when we forget like exactly what the right words are, so thank you. I don't see any Q&A right now, but I'm sure we can come back to this topic. I think we want to introduce Margaret LaForest, who's with us today. Thank you so much. Margaret is with the Massachusetts Office of Business Development. And we are on calls with her and her colleagues every Friday, which has been invaluable for us. But I think Margaret has a quick announcement for us too. So Margaret.
Okay, I'm going to multitask here and hold on a second, get this slideshow going. Okay, great. Thank you very much, Kara and Raul, and for inviting me here this week. And I'm happy that you are able to join us. It's been very informative having Lieutenant Governor Polito, Secretary of Executive Office of Housing and Economic Development, Mike Connolly. That is who every Friday that you're able to join. The Mass Office of Business Development is the Executive Office Economic Development Agency for the state. So we are the field team. The last slide includes my contact information, my colleague Sue Whitaker. We both cover the Brookline area. And as we get through, all of the slides I'm going to show you today are from the Reopening Advisory Report. I've just condensed it to be efficient with our time as to what's most valuable right now. But if you do have any questions, you're looking for the information, or you're welcome to have a human at the other end of the lines. Both Sue and I are happy to answer personal company questions, emails. We really recognize these public formats of Zoom are a really great way to have some outreach. However, people are, hesitant sometimes to ask their own company questions with where their business stands. So by all means, I'll give you that at the end. So currently right now, as you are aware, we are under the Safer at Home advisory. People who are at high risk for COVID-19 should stay home, except for essential errands. And as Caitlin and Kara just mentioned, all residents are required to cover their face when they cannot maintain 6 feet of social distancing in public. It's really important for the employees, and glad you're here fielding this question and answering it correctly. Thank you. About whether a customer or an employee is not wearing a mask and how that should be handled. And the also caveat is not only medical reasons, but also religious reasons. And so the question to ask is, if you encounter someone not wearing a mask, is to ask them why they're not wearing a mask. And again, if it is a medical or religious reason, you need to make those accommodations, especially for employers in the workplace and for the public coming into your business. The other important piece is that we are in phase one. Phase one started May 18th. What's very important to know is there are no other dates certain, right? The governor announced that there is anticipated 3 weeks between phases. The earliest date phase two could start would be June 8th. However, that does not mean June 8th is the start date for phase two. We could also get into phase two, and hopefully we do that as anticipated. But once we're in phase two, we could need to go back to phase one before getting to phase three. That could be done by industry, that could be done by region, and that could be done throughout the whole state. So as we realize this, it's very important to know there are no other dates certain. The guidance was released, and you can go to mass.gov/reopening. And if you want to look for to really streamline where to go on the website, when can my business reopen? And that's going to bring you to the chart defining which phase, and likely businesses have found that information out already. As you're aware, the hospitality group, the restaurants, the lodging, retailers, has a subcommittee group that's been very, very active, and it states that they're under active consideration for additional guidance prior to phase two. So stay tuned as soon as we have any of that information. I know it was really great to hear what Brookline's doing and working with businesses to provide that outdoor option. That's really important. I know that we're hearing from the restaurant owners and from the customers about the confidence level of being outside and being outside dining first. Gyms and fitness studios are another group we're really hearing from. They're in phase three. However, personal training, outdoor fitness classes are looking for earlier release of guidance, and that is also under active consideration. You'll see the outdoor recreation. We just had Memorial Day weekend. Beach blankets at 12 feet, reducing down to 6 feet in phase two. So you're going to see this forward progress in what to kind of expect with each phase. The other big question we have, and there's guidance out specific to it on medical services, what can be done now versus what needs to be waiting for further guidance. So here we are. A few weeks ago, Governor Baker released the mandatory workplace safety standards for reopening. So this is a requirement. This is a must, and this is for all businesses. This addresses social distancing, hygiene protocols, staffing and operations, and cleaning and disinfecting. So what is it that your business needs to do now? This is a mandatory self-certification process, the COVID-19 control plan. You must create a written control plan for your business. And we have posted on mass.gov/reopening the control plan template. And you can follow along with that, and it's going to explain to you what is expected for your business to complete for social distancing, hygiene protocols, staffing and operations, cleaning and disinfecting. Once your control plan template is complete, you're required to post the compliance attestation poster. And this is to be posted in a very visible area so that both your employees and your customers are aware. And twofold reasons, right? This lets your employees know that this is a safe work environment, that you're in compliance, you're self-attesting, that you're in compliance with the protocols required for you to reopen your business. And then also consumer confidence. As they're seeing these posters up, they know that the business owner has taken their steps for a safe reopening. 2 more posters you're required to post, similar to other HR information you have for your business, is 1, the employer poster. What is it that you at the employer has done for this safe reopening? And then 1 for the worker. What is expected of the worker for this safe reopening? Best practice not required. A lot of employers are part of it. You'll see in the COVID template talks about training for employees on these 4 areas of mandatory workplace safety standards. So the best practice is when you're providing this training, you're providing something in documentation to the employee saying that they have completed the training, they understand the training, and they'll be abiding by these workplace safety standards. So not required, but a good best practice that we are seeing. And as far as enforcement, what's important is it is going to be the local Board of Health in Brookline. It's going to be the State Department of Public Health, the Division of Labor Standards. Sometimes it's local law enforcement partnership. We expect it to be complaint driven, right? This is self-certification. You don't need to turn your forms in to the town. You don't need to turn them into the state. You're keeping them on the premises. There is a hotline with the Attorney General's office that complaints can be reported. The most important message, though, for the business community is that the enforcement agencies are not looking to penalize your business for not being in compliance. Rather, we want to work with you and support you and make sure you have the tools you need to have a safe reopening. So if an enforcement agency does come to your business, know that they are there to work with you to help you get into compliance. And, we understand there's a lot of information out there. People are confused, they want to understand. So by all means, make sure you're aware that this is something you're self-certifying and the enforcement agencies are there to be helpful to you. Many industries are having sector-specific protocols. And I think this is really important because there's a lot of mandatory language here. For example, the office space, there's been a lot of media about the office space, the reduction of capacity, whether that's 25% of your workforce, whether that's 25% of your building occupancy load, or maybe you have a business need that you need to exceed that and it lays it out for you. And that's specific for the office space guidance. There's also mandatory language in here around contact tracing, what sectors are expected to keep a log with who have come in and out of your business. So the sector protocol, the sector circular, you'll see spells out mandatory safety standards and then best practices. So we really want you need to, if your industry has additional measures, going to need to be into compliance with that as well. All of the phases are getting these sector circulars. As soon as the Commonwealth has the documents ready, they're being released. So if you're a phase 2 business and you're awaiting your guidance, my advice to you is review what's kind of applicable to you. You're going to see very common language cross sectors that you could incorporate into your COVID-19 control plan as well. But so far, and I'm sure this has changed this morning, I haven't checked, but car washes, construction, drive-in theaters, hair salons, barbershops, health and human services, labs, manufacturing, office, outdoor recreation, pet grooming, places of worship, boating, campgrounds, charter boats, zoos, botanical gardens. These all have the individual sector-specific guidance that you're going to want to look for. One of the biggest enablers that we are concerned about, obviously, is childcare. Childcare, as you know, is primarily closed through the end of June, and the state did stand up an essential service, childcare for essential workers, and that is currently operating at 35% capacity. I meant to, sorry, I didn't check out who specifically in Brookline, but if you go to mass.gov/reopening, you can access the portal and put your community in, where you live, where you work, or if you're looking for childcare, they'll tell you what locations are available. And believe me, you're talking to a mom of when my kids were in preschool, I interviewed preschools. I know no one's looking to change your childcare. And the message at this time is if you can avoid group childcare for your children, we're asking that you do so. However, I want you to understand if you do need childcare as an option, where to find that information. The other big enabler for returning to the workforce is transportation. As you'll see in phase 1, under the Safer at Home advisory, you're seeing transit is exactly the same as the stay at home advisory. But here is the game plan for public transit as we move forward. So, we really recognize and are asking companies, for example, in that office guidance, it talks about if it is feasible for you to telework, you must remain teleworking, right? So if someone's working from home now, it's feasible for them to continue to work from home. We're really trying in phase 1 to have a slow and strategic opening, encouraging those who can work from home to please continue to do so. And then the last is the personal protective equipment. The Commonwealth invested heavily in Massachusetts manufacturers that were stopping their production line for non-essential services. And, when the governor asked for us to create local product, they, supported that initiative. And so the Commonwealth had invested in some mass manufacturers. We have vetted a lot of the local personal protection equipment vendors. And that too is in a portal on the reopening website with a drop-down menu. If you need masks, you can see who's selling those, surgical gowns, see who's selling those, really trying to get access out to that information. But of course, the town of Brookline and maybe your Brookline Chamber has some local vendors, and I'd really encourage you to be supporting your local vendors as well. But especially if you're looking for large scale volume, you'd want to be looking at this portal. And so here is my contact information. Again, the Mass Office of Business Development. We are the economic development team for Governor Baker and Lieutenant Governor Polito and Secretary Connolly. Myself and Sue, cover the greater Boston and the South Coast region. We are, like I said, we're in pretty frequent communications lately with Kara and Meredith and the team there, but we welcome you to contact us. I'm happy to field any questions for you this morning. And in non-COVID times, our role is to connect companies. We work with municipalities on any tax increment financing, state tax credit program, and really to be a broker for your company to access any of the resources, grants, programs, incentives offered by the Commonwealth and by our quasi-public agencies. So happy to schedule calls with any companies looking for that as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Margaret. Does anybody have questions for her quickly before she jumps on another call? I see something from Lucia at Tiny Hanger. Is a children's clothing shop and amazing toys. She says that she hasn't seen retail guides for how many people they can have in the store at a time related to staff and customers. She'd love to prepare. Is it true that there's not that guide out yet?
Correct. So the retail guidance, believe me, they are hearing because obviously a lot of retailers are anxious to get back open. Some of them have been working essentially, or staff with remote fulfillment. So you can see the remote fulfillment guidance that is out, but that's under the essential services information, but that will be released shortly. And I guess my advice is if you're just looking for that head start, take a look maybe at the hair salon guidance. Obviously it's not going to be applicable to put, plexiglass between chairs, but you'll see a lot of that language carries through the various sector specific protocols. So that's been my advice for the retailers, is really take a look at that one for now until yours is released. But as soon as they're ready, we're not going to wait for your phase 2 business or to release yours. As soon as these are ready, every single day they're getting, propagated.
Great. And a follow-up question to that, a frequent question has been whether or not retailers should go ahead and buy the infrared thermometers to test their own employees in the store, but they've also heard separately from the state that is definitely not required. So if you could just clarify that or what you expect to happen.
Yep. So that's not required. That is not required. Employees can ask their employers can ask their employees to take their temperature. You could do that, but that is not coming out as a requirement from the Commonwealth. And, as we've learned about this virus, a lot of people are asymptomatic and not necessarily is a temperature the indicator that we need. So that is not a requirement in there.
Yeah,
and I know a lot of the other retailers are worried about the contact log and if they're keeping that. So I'm not sure on that at this point because that hasn't been released in the specific, but that is in the salon, like the office space, that's in a lot of them. And, as you're tracking, if it's, some people are able to have contact information through their point of sale system, and that could be your log. So we're not asking for specific kind of, this is the format information must be maintained. So for the sectors that are looking for that, it's like, how are you capturing that information now? Let's not overwork you on this. You may have a system in place that meets the spirit of the intent of that contact log.
Mm-hmm. And Pat Maloney, who's with us, did you want to add what you've been recommending as well?
Yeah. So to avoid confusion, because in the essential services, we first opened food establishments and takeout, and part of that protocol, our department mandated that the staff be monitored as they come to work. And we promoted the touchless thermometers.
Okay.
After we implemented that, the FDA came out with a similar national recommendation. So that's the one thing that I'm sure you're seeing. Boards of health are approaching some of these. They're tweaking them just a little bit. For food safety, we've tried to be as protective as possible, and that's something our health commissioner wanted, and we were pleased to see it became a national standard. In the other environments, as was mentioned, it's specific to their business. The hair salons have, it is the greatest one to look at as a guide, because they will be working with customers breaking that 6-foot barrier. So as a result, more protective measures are added in there for the protection of the employee and for the customer.
And I think we're seeing that too, right? So businesses are self-selecting to do that and are doing it successfully. I know the governor had, was it Simmons and Braintree? And they talked about, I'm not sure if that's the correct example, but one of the manufacturers he had on, they talked about, here it is, this is where you're taking the temperature, and they have 80s music playing in the room just to kind of change that, awkwardness. So there are companies that are doing it successfully. And Elias, I want to give a shout out to Rotary. I'm a fellow Rotarian in Quincy, so meant to give that a plug. So appreciate the good work you do, and I want to hear about your successful pancake breakfast. We're all looking forward to supporting the nonprofit community. They're really struggling. When I was on some calls with Senator Markey, Senator Congressman Kennedy, Congressman Lynch, they're talking about the nonprofit sector and potentially getting help in a future package. And the Rotary, we cross every nonprofit in the community and are really seeing that on the front line. So I'm sure there will be great energy and support. And I think the timing hopefully aligns well for you to have a successful event. So all the best.
Great. So I don't see any other questions. There was a hand up from Webler. I'm not sure who that is, but the hand went back down. So just want to give a minute before we lose Margaret. Does anybody else have questions for her?
Yeah, if any questions can be submitted through the Q&A, we're not taking hand raised questions. So I put that in the chat to attendees. If you can please submit that question through the Q&A, that's the way to do it. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, well, listen, I'm glad. I'm going to hop off, but I really appreciate you inviting me here. Welcome to contact any of you to contact me in the interim, and I'm glad to come back as each phases or if there's new information. Let's stay in touch. Thanks.
Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Margaret. I think next up for us is Pat Maloney. Do you have any? What are you seeing on the streets out there this week? What's going on?
Sure. Well, first, I'd like to say that was an excellent overview that reiterated what we've been talking about for the past number of weeks. So she framed it very well. And I'm sure you have that captured. If we can get that PowerPoint and just post it, I think it would be a great resource. It summarizes it well. And that will be added to as the phases evolve. But that was very good. And the point of the business-specific issues, that's the game changer for, one business. As I said, we look at a hair salon as opposed to a jewelry store, two different issues that we're concerned about. We are getting a number of questions. When is phase 2 going to happen? As you just heard, that hasn't been put together. So what's going on today? Many businesses will be seeing volunteers from the Public Health Department who are from the Medical Reserve Corps and the CERT team. And we're going throughout the town to all our business districts, and we're hand delivering the notice, the documents that Margaret just mentioned, emphasizing the posting. So this is going to be what inspectional staff, when we do spot checks and the state, they'll be looking for this in the window. That's the indicator that you, as a business operator, have read the protocols and have implemented them, and you check off the boxes and then you sign it, and it welcomes customers to your establishment. So that's not only required for everyone opening under phase 1, but it's also for the essential businesses. This package wasn't put together prior to the essential businesses opening. So now we're revisiting them and saying, you also have to do this. And we don't, they'll be in compliance right away because they've been doing all the practices. But that's something that citizens will be looking for, to be assured that the business has met the procedures. And we need people to have patience because, as was mentioned, there's a lot to go through, a lot to understand. So those posters will be gradually going up. And as Margaret mentioned, this is an educational process. So even under the enforcement protocols, it's first, you discuss and educate with everyone what is expected of them. And then you do follow-ups as time goes on. But this is good to keep reiterating what the standards are. So they'll be visiting all the establishments, hand delivering. If they don't see the poster in the window, they'll be hand delivering the form. We've also sent it out via email. I know Economic Development sent it out to all their contacts. We've sent it out to all of our contacts, food establishments. The EOC is sending it out to all of our business listings, emails that we have. So we're really trying to get the word out best we can. But we felt it was also, we found when we opened our essential businesses, hand delivering notices really helped because right after we hand delivered it, a lot of calls were coming into the department. Beyond that, what's going on is the calls and the questions. Our complaints have diminished significantly. So that's great. We're thrilled about that. Persons complaining about, the face mask issue and persons in establishments without such. It's a complete turnaround. So thank you to all the citizens who are cooperating and following our protocols. It protects you, it protects the public, it protects the employees who are out there on the front line trying to provide services for everyone. Beyond that, any questions that are coming in, what we're also doing at the town is we're getting ready to open up our town government. So that's in the works behind the scenes, and we're putting together our protocols. And you'll see those signs in all the municipal buildings saying where we've addressed the social distancing, the hygiene, the sanitation, the training. The town is also obligated to do that, and we'll be posting those notices which is required as part of the state protocol.
Great, thank you, Pat. We do have 2 questions, and also just want to pause for a minute because I realize that both Meredith, Mooney, and I need another cup of coffee this morning because we've been dutifully putting links in the chat, but only to the panelists, not to the panelists and the attendees. And so I'm wondering if maybe we can just repost all of those links to panelists and all attendees, I think. So we'll work on that while Pat answers these 2 questions. The first question is from Michael. He's wondering if Pat Maloney could speak on face masks versus face shields. Should this be done instead of or addition to? Some of their staff feel constricted by the face masks and would rather just wear the shield.
Yeah, I've put it out to the state because I think the face shield is a nice alternative for somebody who may have a medical issue and they can't, it restricts breathing. I haven't had an answer yet, unfortunately. The only guidance we've been getting is the face shield is an alternative or where establishments have to protect their eyes, the eye protection. They have the mask, and the face shield serves as the eye protection for the mucous membranes of the eye. I'm trying to tie that one down, and if Caitlin, if maybe you could also look at that to see if there's been a discussion among the in the disability community advisories. Is that an acceptable alternative for persons who do have a restriction of airway issue? Because I think that would be great. So get back to you on that as soon as we tie it down. We'll get that out. That's been a troubling one. Nobody wants to commit to it. It's just everybody's very antsy, and I apologize for that.
I think that's helpful to just to know that you're working on getting that answer too. So more to come if we get clarity on that. We do have 2 additional more kind of comments, and announcements of ways to support each other, which is awesome. Before we go there, we did want to kind of open up generally to businesses to hear about and hear from each other what your experience has been this week, just kind of generally, if anybody wants to talk with us. Maybe I'll just open it up to Liz Linder first, if you want to talk about what your work week's been like, and you can also talk about your project. If we can we promote her to speak?
Yes, bringing her up, and Liz, you'll be able to turn your camera on too. There you go. And just unmute.
Okay, can you hear me?
You're up.
Great. I have been working on a project since almost the beginning of the shutdown that is documenting local response in a variety of ways. First, I was looking for permission from the town, which took a little while, and then I got it. And I've been documenting in between local businesses, food establishments, volunteers, the makery with they made face shields, and just creating a texture of the town. And it's been wonderful to see how people have been coming together and pivoting and repurposing their work days and talents and cross coordination. And so anyway, I just wanted to, so my week, I've been in town hall photographing like the, what do you call it, the early ballot requests. I've been at the food pantry. I've been, where else have I been? This week's been a little quiet because of the holiday, but a lot of places. And I'd love to, anybody who's interested, who would like to be, answer a few questions just about their general experience and have me come take a portrait, please email us. It's studio@lizlinder.com is the email that goes to me and my studio director. And so I'd say we're softly open. And I have another idea, but that's under wraps for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. I've not seen other businesses in the Q&A that maybe want to share what their week has been like. So I'm going to also open it up to Martha Huntley of Brookline Strong. Let's see if we can find you. She's on appearing as Webbler, and then we can turn it over to Roxie after Martha. Go ahead, Martha.
And Martha, you just want to unmute, and also you're welcome to turn your camera on if you'd like.
Yeah.
We can hear you though.
Okay, good morning. Thank you for doing all of this. So my name is Martha Huntley. I'm volunteer director for BrooklineStrong.org. And it's a virtual stage that we've created for our local performers and friends of Brookline. And it's also a platform for businesses to be visible and give a shout out to the Brookline community to say, you know, we'll get through this together, or we're in this together, or any kind of like positive, uplifting message that, you know, again, is uplifting. And it can put, you know, a reminder to the public that you're here. You can do like a little mini demo if you want. We've talked to Matt Murphy's. They're going to do like a little, until you can come back and be with us, here's a cocktail you can make at home, something fun, super short, easy to follow. It can be 10 seconds up to 4 minutes. Avoid it being like a commercial, more that, we're with you. Of course, state your business and if you're offering curbside service, any of that, important information. Of course, we want to drive business, but we're promoting relationships and doing that by visibility and you offering your support to the community. So I can be reached on my email, huntley.martha@gmail.com. And our website is brooklinestrong.org. And there's a lot of information there that hopefully actually just gets to the point. We've reached out to the schools for performances. We've got some professional performances. Ann Dowd has a beautiful tribute that she's submitted. She's a famous actress in The Handmaid's Tale. Local author Anita Diamant is doing a special reading for this occasion. And all of the shout outs, we're encouraging them to have a very specific message for Brookline, celebrating sticking it out together and our essential workers. So I ask you to consider, if you'd like to participate, you just send your video clip. The information's in the website, and also if you can share with your network, we really welcome, obviously, as much viewership as possible. The deadline is coming up quickly, but the effort is intended to be really short and easy from your cell phone.
Thank you.
We've got it. We get to a couple other people. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Appreciate you.
We have Roxie and then Lucia. So let's try to get those two in.
There's Roxie. Roxie, same deal. You're up. You're welcome to unmute your video if you'd like, but we can hear you now, I think.
Excellent. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for holding these meetings and for checking in with all of us. So I'm Roxie, the Artistic Director of Puppet Showplace Theater in Brookline Village. For the past week, with the, just slightly more space for operations, we were able to launch Puppet Show and Tell, which is our live performance series that happens on Sunday. These are performances by our community of professional puppeteers that happen at Puppet Showplace that are then live broadcast over Zoom. Audiences can reserve tickets. And then one of the things we're really excited about is this interactive post-show Q&A. So we had hundreds of people attend the first one. We are at the moment offering this for free. We know there's a lot of people in the community who have lost work, and it was important to us to make this programming available as widely as possible. And we're really excited to do that, featuring Massachusetts artists through June 21st. We are looking to, in the next couple of weeks, we'll be looking at ways we might roll out virtual programming that replicates some of our previously scheduled camps. I think after BU canceled its programming through Wheelock Family Theater, we were set to have shows at our Summer Puppet Academy in June. So we may sort of reinvent that program for something that we just offer instead of offering it through Wheelock Family Theater. We're really interested in knowing from Brookline information about whether BACE camps can run. We're scheduled to do 2 camps with them, which would have been on site at Lincoln School, I think, in the first 2 weeks of August. And then, or rather enrichment programs, they're not quote unquote camps, but it still would be whether children in a very small group can gather in a classroom with whatever precautions. So even though those are in August, our ability to market or engage parents with confidence is work that we would typically have been doing 2 months ago, but obviously we're just doing our best to roll with the flow. So we also have our own enrichment programs that would have happened on site at the theater in the last 2 weeks of August. So I think for that, we're both interested in the predictions for school, how any of the school calendar might change, and if any version of programming, including work that we could do outside, is going to be permissible. I did email Kara and Meredith last week, and we were very interested in working with the town to make outdoor safe, structured however is necessary, including for audiences of one family at a time. Any of that programming happen. We think live and in person has enormous social benefit. And we also think that arts organizations are unique experts in building community trust and having people know how to follow protocols. That is what we do. So we're here to work with you and our community to help rebuild. Thanks.
Love it.
Thank you, Roxie. I have not responded to your email yet, but we have talked about your ideas with another department and also a private property owner. So more to come. I really appreciate the creative thinking, the specificity of your proposals. So more to come, but keep the ideas coming. We know that we don't know what's going to happen over the next couple of months by any means, but we have a general sense from what's happening nationally that as we are allowed to open, that customers will feel more comfortable outdoor spaces first. So we hear you loud and clear. There's also, I might have mentioned this last week, but there's also some regional efforts going on about cooling corridors. So obviously a lot of people don't like to go to official cooling centers when it gets hot and becomes a public health safety issue, but they may be willing to go to a library or a senior center that happens to be air conditioned. And if those indoor spaces, like for example, this week, are not open, that means we need to find other creative outdoor places that, especially in the early evening, where there's shadier streets, could be possibly used perhaps with water play and that kind of thing. And with those spaces, the only way we're going to get people to be willing to think about coming to those kind of cooler areas is if it's well programmed. And so I'm just sharing with you, Roxie, that we're also talking with different arts organizations at kind of a broader state level about how we might combine public health and supporting our arts organizations. I don't have anything specific, but I'm just sharing kind of where that brainstorming is going with potential funding sources connected with those ideas. And then I think Lucia, if you're still with us, I'd love to hear from you too.
Lucia's up.
Hi, can you hear me here? Okay, so I'm Lucia from Tiny Hanger, kids clothing store in Coolidge Corner, and you have a curbside pickup waving at me. I think you asked how are we doing, I think, and it's like the first day that question made me cry. It's just getting harder. It's not easier. I'm sorry. We're operating, I think for most retailers I know that have not done really well with the virus, we're doing so bad. And we're operating at like 80% of our income. And, curbside is just harder. It's not easier. Customers are difficult and, some are great. I'm sorry.
Please, we want to hear this from you.
It's just really getting harder and there's not a lot of direction. You guys have been wonderful and it's really helped. but I need staff to help me I'm doing 150% of the work I used to do by myself. And I need people to help me to do anything further to progress sales. And I can't afford to bring them on. Next week, I will be forced to. My store is a total mess because it's turned into a shipping station. And, you know, we've done well, but it's operating at 80% or less. You know, we're 80% or more down for 3 months. And Leader Management is our landlord, and they've been amazing, and they've helped us reduce rent, but it's still hardly enough to pay the rent and pay, you know, for all the product we have in the store. So I don't think it's getting better. And even with opening, like, I don't know how many people I can have in the store at a time. I'm guessing, you know, 2 customers. From what I've heard from other stores like me, they can have 1 customer in at a time. If you really look at your numbers, like, the smart business choice is to close your business today. I'm not going to do that because I think all of us small businesses like have hope, but that's the really dumb decision. I have to go help this customer. I'm sorry. I'm okay. I know I'm crying. I always cry. But I've really been fine until you asked that question. And like, just talking to other stores last night, like, we are all today, this is the week we're all crashing. Like, curbside didn't make it easier. It just, every outreach with 1 customer takes like 3 hours to sell 1 pair of shoes on sale for $25. I'm sorry, I have to go help this customer. Thank you, guys. I'm okay.
Thank you, Lucia, so much.
Sorry.
And I know she is leaving, and I'm seeing other comments as well. Just, it takes a lot of bravery to share that information with each other. And so I'm just thankful for Lucia.
Yeah, you know, I want to bring Wendy in here too, who's writing in the Q&A about something that I think is really important that we need to be thinking about is what we as community members can do to help our local businesses. So Wendy, I just promoted you. You're welcome to unmute, and if you'd like to show your video, you can. You don't need to. But this is, you know, if we want our local businesses to continue to be there for us when we need them, we want them, and we care about people like Lucia and others who are operating these businesses and the folks who are working there. I mean, we have to reinvest locally. We have to, you know, get off Amazon and all these other sites, and we have to take the time to support the businesses that are in our community. Wendy, would you like to share anything there?
Oh, yeah. Hi. Oops, I'm going to take my video off. Something's wrong with my screen. This is just something, you know, so I live over in the Pill Hill district, real close to, you know, Brookline Village, for those of you that don't know. And we're always trying to think of something lately to help our businesses. One thing we're doing for Father's Day, and I'm hoping maybe other associations or groups can do something similar for other events. Oh, sorry, there's my cat. We are working with Drive-By Pies, Serenade, and Rufrillo, and we surely wish that we could work with so many more businesses, but we're creating a Father's Day event, sort of like a dessert drive of sorts. And each of these businesses are going to create some kind of special dessert for the fathers, and we'll be advertising it through our association that something special is being created. And we're basically going to be contributing some money from our funds. We did not have our annual meeting, which costs a lot of money, and our Father's Day picnic up on the Filbert Green, of course, has been canceled. So we're taking the money that we would otherwise spend on that and putting it into a few of these small businesses. And then to help and then also to promote. So that's just one thing we're doing. And gosh, we wish we could do more. And if you guys have ideas, please let me know. At least I can channel it through our association as well as Greater Point Precinct 5. So that's about the bandwidth that I would have. I can put my email in if you'd like, if anybody has ideas, other ideas.
Sure thing. Do you want to just share that email now, so folks that might be watching can write it down?
Yep, in the chat. Yep.
You can just say it out if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, it's just my name. It's wendy.mockmuller@gmail.com.
Thanks so much, Wendy.
Thanks
Appreciate
everyone for all your hard work.
Raul, I'll just mention really quick, so folks who are on the call who may not know, you can promote your business through Brookline Interactive Group. If you email info@brooklineinteractive.org, I'm happy to send you the template. We just need a graphic with some TV safe parameters, but we are letting folks know how to access your business, how they can contact you, how to access your business safely. So please send that to us. And if you're doing any kinds of special activities like Father's Day or for graduation or for grads, please let us know and be happy to put that out. We have 19,000 cable subscribers in Brookline, which is about a third of the community. So we'd love to help support getting the word out to our residents through Bake.
Right. This is Pat. I have to run because we have to do another training for the MRC, but I want to mention three things. One, the farmers market will be opening next week. We've been working very hard with the market master and putting together protocols so that it can be done safely. As you can imagine, under the circumstances, it's going to be a different farmers market, but the farmers market will be there. And I think that what's going to be good, and I'm still tiny hangers, that was tough. But foot traffic will be coming. So that will help somebody like that. And we're sending out our notices to our swimming pools and our children's camps. They're going to be part of phase 2. So that will also bring some normalcy to things. What are the dates? What are the conditions to open? Still putting that together, but it's a promising sign that swimming pools, condo pools will be as part of phase 2, and children's camps will be part of phase 2. So pleasure working with you guys. I got to run to the other meeting. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Pat. All right. Not seeing any more hands or folks in the Q&A. Kara or Meredith, anything else to add? Good. All right. So, we'll continue to be back on these. I think I'm glad that we had a chance to hear Lucia's story and to understand the impact that this is having, just the personal toll that this is all having on. I mean, there are those of us who are dealing with this on a very personal level, and then there are others who have a sense of responsibility for the people that they employ. I just can't even imagine like that feeling that some of you have right now in the pit of your stomach, wondering what the future is going to be like. But what I can guarantee you is that we're going to be here, that you have a really caring. I mean, there was a conversation we had right before we came on where, we were talking about this and that you've got a really caring staff here in Kara and Meredith and the rest of the team in the town that actually care about you as individuals and also about us as a community. So we're going to continue to be here, and I'm certainly going to be taken away from this thinking about ways that we can really get residents behind our local businesses and get them, whether it's online or curbside or in the stores, actually getting out there and shopping again. We just need to do it. Our communities and the future of what Brookline looks and feels like actually relies on it. So I promise you that I'll be doing that, and I know others will be too. So thank you all. And we will, I promise you, next Thursday, 9 o'clock, be right back here with you. So thanks, everybody. Talk soon.